Okay, hi there. Let's take a look at this first set of essays you've written us. The first one is about schools and whether they should be more entertaining. Here's what you wrote. It is debated that the solid goal of school is to educate students instead of entertaining them. However, I believe that education can be provided to children and adults in more enjoyable ways. This essay will discuss both sides using examples of Cambridge University research and UK government studies to demonstrate points and support arguments. All right, this is fine. You've done everything you're supposed to do, so it's a well-constructed introduction. Let's move on. Firstly, nowadays, current technologies advancement. Well, no, you can't really quite put it like that. It should be nowadays advancements in technology. And if you do that, you don't even really need this firstly, but I see now that you also have a secondly here. So why don't we keep the firstly, since you have a secondly, and just change a couple of other things around instead. So, firstly, advancements in current technology and have enabled, okay, so you're changing this around a little bit, have enabled children to study new things with fun strategies, while the traditional education system forces pupils, plural, to learn aged standard syllabus in given period of time. All right, there's clearly a problem here with some articles. You're not using articles where you need to, and that's going to be a problem for your grammatical range and accuracy score. So, pupils to learn an aged standard syllabus in a given period of time. This is largely because any country's government structure is not able to maneuver as modern technology develops. For example, recent research from Cambridge University indicates that the most English language learners of non-English, most English language learners of non-English speaking countries had studied the language through YouTube channels despite school. That doesn't make sense, I'm afraid. You mean and not in school, or you mean despite being taught in school. So grammar is really an issue for us in this paragraph, with most of your sentences having some sort of grammatical error, okay? As a consequence of the inability to implement new approaches, school loses its position as an education center, okay? So again, we've got more grammatical problems. Now, the other problem in this paragraph is one that is rather twofold, in fact. It's an issue of task achievement. It's also coherence and cohesion. Coherence and cohesion because I've really struggled to find the central idea in each paragraph. That's something that's really important for a good coherence and cohesion score. Make sure you have a central idea. It's not clear to me what the central paragraph is. I thought that you were going to talk about schools being more entertaining. But it seems like it's not what you're saying. And then you're talking about governments not being able to use technological developments. Then you're telling us that students learn English through YouTube and not at school. And so then you're saying that schools are losing their position. So there are a couple things happening. Like I said, coherence and cohesion because there's not a central idea that can be found here. And then on top of that, I'm not really sure which of these two sides you're actually arguing here. Because it sounds like you were saying that they should be more entertaining, but then you talked about how they're not entertaining. So it really just leads to a lack of any sort of conclusion being drawn from this paragraph, okay? And like I said, that's something that will affect task achievement and coherence and cohesion. And of course, it doesn't help that there are so many grammatical problems, and so it's going to create a problem for you there as well. Let's move on to the next paragraph. Secondly, children's collaboration and contribution abilities grow since they started going to kindergarten. All right, you've got tense problems here. What are you trying to tell us? Are you trying to tell us that children's ability to collaborate and contribute grow from the time they are in kindergarten? I think that's what you're trying to say. This is due to the fact that those skills are established while children are toddlers playing with their classmates. Take, for example, I don't know what this means, UK, I think you mean. The UK government had done research, not about home and classroom studies in the early 1930s and found that those who studied in a classroom were able to achieve more in a social environment. Therefore, teaching with enjoyable techniques to students is a key to improve children's social skills. Okay, again, it's difficult to find a key idea here, a central idea, because here you talked about kindergarten, you talked about children playing with their classmates, and then all of a sudden you're telling me about children who studied in the classroom. So there's no link between your ideas. I can't see what the connection is between these. It doesn't seem like there's a central idea. I keep looking for it. I'm like, all right, what are we trying to talk about in this paragraph? It's just not clear. This is clear. All right, I understood that, okay? But again, I could not follow your train of thought throughout this paragraph, and that's something that will affect both task achievement and coherence and cohesion. To conclude from examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that educating children in a more interesting way serves a solid purpose of school's existence. It is predicted that education systems will be changed to more entertaining ing methods in the future. All right, that's clear. So for your first essay, the vocabulary is pretty good, but the rest of the areas, the other three criteria, really need a little work. And so I want you to think about some of the feedback in this essay correction today, and let's go to your next essay. All right, so let's go to the second task 2 here. Okay. Entertaining activities and reading are crucial for children to learn certain skill sets. However, I believe that advantages of practicing enjoyable activities outweigh, not overweigh, those of reading. Why is it those? Because it's advantages of practicing and outweigh advantages of. This essay will discuss both sides using examples of recent research from MIT and World Memory Championship to demonstrate points and support arguments. Okay, that's fine. Firstly, interpersonal skills play important roles. It's just one role, to understand others and solve problems they face. You don't need a comma here. And who is this they referring to? Do you mean children? You should probably state it because you have not used the word children until your very first since your very first sentence, and so it's not clear anymore to the reader who they refers to. So this is largely because soft skills such as social and communication cannot be formed only by reading about them. Now, you have to write out the word cannot because we don't use contractions in IELTS. And again, this has to refer to skills. Okay? So it has to be plural, them. But those are established over time by practicing memorable activities and putting ting, oneself in someone's shoes. For example, a recent study by MIT one study has shown that one of the top skills a person should have in 2030 is people skills. Therefore, although reading is necessary to children's development, practicing is a key to form effective abilities. All right, the only thing I would change about this last sentence is not practicing, but practicing what? Practicing what specifically? Because what do you mean? Practicing sports, practicing musical instruments? So it would be a little clearer here, okay? Secondly, when children, even toddlers and juveniles, are happy, they're more likely to learn new things fast. This is due to the fact that when a person enjoys the moment, the brain releases new cells with information at that moment, and those are saved in the brain for a longer period of time than usual cells. Take, for example, Katan Bhatar, who coached top 10 athletes of World Memory Championship. I'm confused about the grammar here. He trained his 4-year-old, without the S-year-old daughter to calculate 4-digit numbers with one another before she even learned ED reading. As a result, children had a happy and productive time. All right, I don't understand the links between these sentences. We're talking about learning skills when you're doing something fun. Are we supposed to understand that this person's daughter enjoyed calculating 4-digit skills? You never say that anywhere. You just kind of throw this example here. You are telling us that when children enjoy the moment, they store information better. But what skill is that, first of all? Okay? Because remember, we're talking about better skills and imagination. So the first question is, what skill is that? And the second one is that your example just did not fit in here with what you were saying. If it does, and if you think that there's a connection between enjoying the moment and remembering things, and that this is somehow related to this little 4-year-old girl, then great. You have to make that connection. It's not the job of the examiner to make this connection for you, okay? So, to conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly agree that learning with entertaining ing activities is important. Why is it is? Because it's learning is your subject here. Learning is important. Okay. So, learning is more important than bare theoretical knowledge from reading. It is predicted that people's soft skills will vitally impact their future career, not on. So, all right, we've talked a lot about the grammar. We've talked a lot about the coherence and cohesion in this essay as well. There's one other thing that I want to point out to you, which is also very important in this essay, and it's here. Better skills. Okay, you did talk about skills like social and communication. Here you talk about memory. I think this is what you were trying to say, at least. It wasn't very clear. But look what you left out. You left out this whole idea of imagination. It's very important. And it's very important because you can see here that they've clearly set it aside from the rest of the skills that they've mentioned here. They said better skills and imagination. So they want you to dedicate a good amount of time to it. You didn't mention it at all, so this is really going to drop your task achievement score. These are the kinds of things that I want you to be aware of. I want you to work on these as you progress in the course. So let's talk about the next step. The next step is for you to correct these essays based on this video. Then you need to create an error correction list with the mistakes on one side and the corrected version on the next. The third thing you're going to do is write us another set of essays, and you're going to send all of these things back to us. Okay, try to do it in the next day or so you can apply what you've been learning. We'll be waiting for your next set of essays, so good luck.